Hello, and welcome to the second lesson of the Certified Six Sigma Green Belt course offered by Simply-Learn. This lesson will cover the details of the define phase. Let us start with the objectives of the lesson in the next screen. After completing this lesson, you will be able to explain various components of project identification, describe customer data collection methods, list various means of project documentation, discuss risk analysis and management, describe project management and planning tools, explain the concepts used in evaluation of project performance, discuss team stages and dynamics. Let us start with the first topic in the following screen. In this topic, we will discuss project identification. Let us see the prerequisites of a Six Sigma project in the following screen. Six Sigma can be applied to everything around. It can be applied across almost 70 different sectors. However, it cannot be applied to all problems. The first step is to check if the project qualifies to be a Six Sigma project. The questions that need to be asked are as follows. Is there an existing process? To implement the DMAC methodology of problem solving, a process needs to exist. The process should be in operation for the development of the product or service. Is there a problem in the process? Ideally, the process should not have any problem. If there is a problem in the process performance, the process needs to be improved. Is the problem measurable? The problem has to be measurable in order to assess the root cause and the impact of the problem on the process. Does the problem impact customer satisfaction? If the problem affects customer satisfaction, an action needs to be taken immediately, else the customer may start finding alternate products or switch to competitors' products. Does working on the problem impact profits of the company? It is very essential to assess the impact of the project on the profits of the company. If the project affects the profits of the company adversely, then such a project is not feasible. Is the root cause of the problem unknown? If the root cause of the problem is visible, then a Six Sigma project is not required. Other problem-solving techniques can be used in this case. Is the solution unknown? If the solution to the problem is already known, then there is no need for any project. The company can directly implement the solution. The define phase of DMAC will be introduced in the next screen. The Six Sigma project process is known as a DMAC process. Define is the first phase in the Six Sigma project process. In the define phase, the problem is defined and the Six Sigma team is formed. The objectives of the define phase are as follows. Clearly define the problem statement through customer analysis. Understand customer requirements, and ensure that the Six Sigma project goals are aligned to these requirements. Define the objectives of the Six Sigma project. Plan the project in terms of time, budget, and resource requirements. Define the team structure for the project and establish roles and responsibilities. In the next screen, let us learn about benchmarking. Benchmarking is the process of comparing an organization's business processes, practices, and performance metrics with that of industry leaders. There are various types of benchmarking. Let us briefly look at each type. Process benchmarking entails comparing specific processes to a leading company or an industry standard. This is useful to obtain a simplified view of business operations and enables a focused review of major business functions. Process benchmarking includes comparisons of production processes, data collection processes, performance indicators, and productivity and efficiency reviews. Financial benchmarking is performed to assess overall competitiveness and productivity. It is done by running a detailed financial analysis and analyzing the result. Performance benchmarking involves comparison of products and services with those of competitors, with the intention of evaluating the organization's competitiveness. Product benchmarking involves designing new products or services or upgrading existing products or services. This can involve reverse engineering a competitor's products to study the strengths and weaknesses and modeling the new product on these findings. Strategic benchmarking refers to studying strategies and problem-solving approaches in other industries. Functional benchmarking is the focused analysis of a single function with the aim of improving it. Complex functions may need to be divided into processes before benchmarking is done. Competitive benchmarking includes standardizing organizational strategies, process, products, services, and procedures against the competitors in the same industry. Collaborative benchmarking is a type of benchmarking where the standardization of various business parameters is carried out by a group of companies and the information is shared. If the subsidiary units of a company or its various branches carry out the benchmarking, it is called collaborative benchmarking. Let us take a look at best practices for benchmarking in the next screen. Best practice is a method that ensures continuous improvement, leading to exceptional performance. It is also a method to sustain and develop the process continuously. Some of the best practices in benchmarking are as follows. Increase the objectives or scope of benchmarking. Set the standards and path to be followed at the initial stage. Reduce unnecessary effort and comply with the scope. Recognize the best in the industry to set a benchmark. Share the information derived from benchmarking. In the next screen, we will discuss project selection. Let us understand process, and business system in this screen. A process is a series of steps designed to produce a product or service to meet the requirement of a customer. A process mainly consists of three elements: input, process, and output. A business process is a systematic organization of objects, such as people, machinery, and materials, into work activities designed to produce a required product or service. As shown on the screen, a process is a subset of a business process. A business process is, in turn, a part of a business system. A business system is a value-added chain of various business processes, such as sales or finance. For example, payroll calculation is a process in the HR business process of an IT company, which is a business system. In the next screen, we will look at the process elements. Let us discuss the challenges to business process improvement in this screen. The improvement to a business process of an organization faces challenges due to the traditional business system structure, because it is generally grouped around the functional aspect. The main problem in a functionally grouped organization is the movement or flow of a product or service. A product or service has to go through various functions and their functional elements to reach the customer or end user. The other problem is management of the flow of products or services across various functional elements. This is difficult as usually there is no one in charge. These business process improvement problems can be solved using the project management approach to produce the product or service. In the next screen, we will learn about process owners and different stakeholders of a project. The representation of where the process owner and stakeholders are placed in the organizational hierarchy is on the screen. The process owner is a person at a senior level in the hierarchy. He is the one who takes responsibility for the performance and execution of a process, and also has the authority and the ability to make necessary changes. On the other hand, a stakeholder is a person, group, or organization which is affected or can affect an organization's actions. Businesses have many stakeholders like stockholders, customers, suppliers, company management, employees of an organization, and their families, the society, etc. Let us discuss the effects of process failure on various stakeholders in the next screen. While it is an absolute business necessity to keep one's stakeholders satisfied at all times, failure to meet one or more process objectives may result in negative effects on them. In such situations, for the stockholders, the perceived value for the company gets reduced. Customers may seek other competitors for their deals, while imposing penalties and finding recourse in legal action against the company. Suppliers may be on the losing front with delayed payments or not being paid at all. Company management may require cost cutdown. Employees will receive diminishing wages. The community and society will be affected due to pollution created by the organization. In the next screen, we will understand the relationship between business and the stakeholder. In the diagram shown on the screen, each stakeholder is both a supplier as well as a customer, forming many closed-loop processes that must be managed, controlled, balanced, and optimized for the business to thrive. Communication is the key in such situations and is facilitated through internal company processes. The next screen covers the importance and relevance of stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis is an important task to be completed before doing a Six Sigma project. A business has many stakeholders, and any change to a business process affects some or all of them. When a process does not meet its objectives, it results in the stakeholders being negatively affected, which in turn affects the organization's performance. The Six Sigma team must factor in the reasons why a stakeholder may oppose the change effort. Let us proceed to the next topic of this lesson in the following screen. In this topic, we will discuss voice of the customer. Let us start with how to identify the customer in the following screen. Customers are the most important part of any business. A customer is someone who decides to purchase, pays, consumes, and gets affected by a particular product or service. It is critical to identify and understand the customer requirements. The products or services can be designed according to these requirements. Consequently, the company is able to provide products or services the customers are willing to purchase. There are two types of customers: internal and external customers. In the next screen, we will learn about internal customers. An internal customer can be defined as anyone within the business system who is affected by the product or the service while it is being developed. Most often, internal customers are the employees of the company. For example, let us assume that there is a series of processes in a particular business system. In such a scenario, the second process is the internal customer for the first process. The third process is an internal customer for the second process, and so on. The basic needs of an internal customer are to be provided proper tools and necessary equipment, imparted proper training, and given specific instructions to carry out their responsibilities. However, the needs are not limited to these alone. Other needs include the provision of company newsletters, projects, storyboards to display the letters, etc., team meetings to share business news and announcements, staff meeting to share information, and quality awards from suppliers. An internal customer is important. First of all, the activities of an internal customer directly affect the final or ultimate customer. Secondly, the activities of an internal customer affect the next process in the system. Finally, an internal customer also affects the quality of the product developed or service provided. When the needs of the internal customers, in most cases employees, are met, they are more likely to have higher perceptions of quality and also contribute to greater productivity. The satisfaction levels of the internal customers can be improved in various ways. These include a higher amount of internal communication through company newsletters and team meetings, recognitions for work, quality awards, etc. Constant training on how to be ahead and well-equipped in a competitive environment is very essential too. In the next screen, we will learn about external customers. This screen focuses on the positive effects of a project on the customers. The most important aspect of any process improvement project is the customers. Internal customers are the ones who drive the project. Hence, the effect of the project on internal customers is a critical factor that needs to be considered. The positive impact of a project on the internal customers is as follows. The project is driven by highly motivated individuals or internal customers who are aware of the project objectives and scope. Individuals belonging to a credible project understand the project deliverables and display high levels of job satisfaction. These individuals go the extra mile to take up tasks beyond their job description. Such individuals make a highly motivated team focused on delivering their responsibilities in order to meet the customer requirements. Working together in a positive environment also improves team spirit and bonding. The positive impact of a project on the external customers is as follows. Process improvement projects analyze the problems and come up with an effective solution, consequently ensuring a better product. A successful process improvement project assists the organization in effectively meeting customer expectations or requirements. There is visible improvement in customer service. Good quality product and service ensures high customer satisfaction. Let us learn about different methods of customer data collection in the following screen. Once you begin to identify the customer types, you need to look forward to collecting customer data. Collecting data from customers is very essential, as it helps consider the levels at which these customers affect the business. Begin by collecting feedback from both internal as well as external customers. Customer feedback helps fill the gaps and improve the various business processes in the organization. It helps define a good quality product as perceived by the customer and identify qualities that make the competitor's products or service better. It also helps identify factors which provide a competitive edge to the product or service on offer. There are various methods to collect feedback from the customers. Many of you might be involved in a similar activity at some point or the other. Popular and common methods are surveys conducted through questionnaires, focus groups, individual interviews with the customers. Customer complaints received via call centers, emails, and feedback forms are also quite prevalent. Feedback received in this form are from dissatisfied customers. In the next screen, we will learn about questionnaires. Let us discuss the advantages and disadvantages of questionnaires in this screen. The advantages of a questionnaire are that it costs less. The phone response rate is high, anywhere from around 70 to 90%, and it produces faster results. Also, analysis of mail questionnaires requires few trained resources. Questionnaire is a method used to gather data. However, there are a few disadvantages associated with it. There may be incomplete results and unanswered questions leading to a lack of clarity. The response rate of mail surveys is about 20 to 30% only. At times, phone surveys can produce undesirable results, as the interviewer can influence the person being interviewed. We will differentiate between telephone survey and web survey in the next screen. There are different methods to collect data for a survey. The methods need to be based on the requirements and needs of the organization. The popular methods of survey are the telephone survey and web survey. Both have their own drawbacks and benefits, which are given on the screen. The organization needs to choose a method of collecting data according to the situation. It is recommended to go through the content for a better understanding. In the next screen, we will learn about focus groups. Let us now discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using a focus group for data collection. The interaction in a focus group generates information, provides in-depth responses, and can address more complex questions or qualitative data. It is an excellent platform to get critical to quality or CTQ definitions as well. On the other hand, the disadvantages of focus groups are that the learning only applies to those within the group, and it is not possible to generalize. The information collected is more qualitative than quantitative, which is another drawback. Additionally, they can also generate a lot of information from anecdotes and incidents experienced by the individuals in the group. In the next screen, we will discuss the interview technique. This screen discusses advantages and disadvantages of using the interview technique for data collection. Interviews have a capability to handle complex questions and a large amount of information. They also allow us to use visual aids in the process. It is a better method to be employed when people do not respond willingly and/or accurately by phone or email. However, there are some shortcomings as well. Interviews are time-consuming, and the resources or interviewer needs to be trained and experienced to carry out the task. Let us discuss the importance and urgency of these inputs in the next screen. The table shows the importance and urgency of different kinds of input. To understand the kind of input to be chosen, different kinds of methods for collecting data are identified. Telephone survey, web survey, and interview are the data collection methods identified. To select the best methods, the criteria or the factors which are important to the organization are listed. The criteria are the factors based on which an organization is going to make decisions. The list of factors is then given weightage based on the importance of each factor in decision-making. As seen, cost is the most important criterion for which the weightage is given 20. Response rate of the customer is next important factor, and the list follows. Visualizing feature and compiling and analyzing data are the factors which have the lowest impact on the decision of selecting the methods for data collection. Each of the data collecting methods is rated between 1 and 10, based on its impact on the listed factors, with 10 being highly favorable to the organization and 1 being least favorable. After rating all the methods with the factors listed, the sum or total is calculated. The calculation of the total involves multiplying each method's rating with the factor weightage and adding all the multiplied values of the column. That is, for telephone survey, the rating is multiplied with factors rating. 8 multiplied by 12 plus 8 multiplied by 6 plus 3 multiplied by 20 plus 5 multiplied by 5 plus 3 multiplied by 5 plus 7 multiplied by 15 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 7 multiplied by 3 plus 0 multiplied by 2 plus 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 7 multiplied by 5 plus 8 multiplied by 5. And the total of this is 471. In a similar way, calculate the total value for the remaining two methods. The total of other two methods are 744 and 522, respectively. Looking at the overall total of the methods, 744 is the highest. Hence, web survey is the best method for the organization to use for data collection. Let us look at the pros and cons of customer complaints data in the next screen. There are pros and cons in gathering information from customer complaints. Advantages include availability of specific feedback directly from the customer and ease in responding appropriately to every customer. On the contrary, feedback in this method does not provide an adequate sample size and may lead to process changes based on one or two inputs from the customer. The next screen will discuss the difference between product complaint and expedited service request. Product complaints and expedited service requests can act as inputs to the company for improving their process. These details address the needs of the customer in an indirect way. A product complaint means that the customer is not happy with the product that he has purchased from the company. An expedited service request means a service request is being rushed. If the customer requires the items immediately, then an expedited service request is raised from the customer, and the organization tries to fulfill it to please the customer. Product complaint implies that a product is not meeting customer specification, hence it has to be improved. Expedited service request implies that service timeliness are not meeting customer requirements. Hence, service has to be improved. Product complaint also implies that the customer needs for product are not completely identified, whereas expedited service request implies that the customer timings need to be recalculated. Let us discuss the importance and urgency of these inputs in the next screen. The table shows the importance and urgency of different kinds of input. To select the best methods, the criteria or the factors which are important to the organization are listed. The criteria are the factors based on which organization is going to make decisions. These factors are then given weightage based on the importance of each factor in decision making. As seen, cost involved and identification of customer need are the most important criteria for which the weightage given is 15, and the list follows. Time consumption and compiling and analyzing data are the factors which have the least impact on the decision of selecting the methods for data collection. Each method is rated between 1 and 10 based on its impact of the listed factors, with 10 being highly favorable to the organization and 1 being least favorable to the organization. After rating all the methods with the factors listed, the sum or total is calculated. Calculation of the total is derived by multiplying each method's rating with the factor weightage and adding all the multiplied values. That is, for product complaint, the rating is multiplied with the factor's rating. 8 multiplied by 15 plus 4 multiplied by 15 plus 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 1 multiplied by 8 plus 1 multiplied by 10 plus 4 multiplied by 2 plus 1 multiplied by 8 plus 1 multiplied by 10. And the total of this is 260. In the similar way, calculate the total value for expedited service request. The total of expedited service request is 817, and hence it is effective to the organization. Let us discuss the key elements of data collection tools in the next screen. Data collection tools will be selected based on the type of data to be collected. The key elements that make these tools effective are as follows. Data is collected directly from the primary source, or customer. Hence, there is no scope for miscommunication or loss of information. Data is collected exclusively for the stated purpose. Hence, data is highly reliable. The data is captured after understanding the organizational purpose. This makes the data exclusively relevant and serves the purpose of the organization. Data is collected instantaneously when there is a requirement. This ensures that the data is up to date. Hence, the data is valid. The tools accurately define customer requirements. The customer requirements could be current needs or improvement to the product or service that they are currently using. The tools help to get enough information about customer requirement through which the process for improving or creating the product or service that the customer requires can be developed. In the next screen, we will discuss how the collected data can be reviewed. Collated data must be reviewed to eliminate vagueness, ambiguity, and any unintended bias. Nutra Worldwide buys laptops for its employees from a company that is into manufacture and sales of laptops. The company also provides servicing and repairs for their products to the customers. To understand the level of customer satisfaction in Nutra Worldwide and to improve its process, the laptop company is conducting a survey. The questionnaire, which was prepared initially, questionnaire before review, had questions that led to ambiguity, vagueness, and unintended bias. Let us look at each item on the survey. To understand the level of usage of the laptop and to know their customer better, the survey is raising a question related to the occupation of the customer. It gives the option of student or professional. But with this low amount of information, the company is neither able to gather the information, nor will the given option cover the entire possible occupation in the market. Including an option of other, please specify, would help the customer to choose and provide the information, if he does not belong to one of the two given groups. Hence, the same is added in the review so that the customer will not be in any ambiguity while filling the questionnaire. The question whether the sales executive was supportive, with an option of yes or no, is a question which leads again to ambiguity and unintended bias. The customer might be partially happy or partially not happy, but the choice does not let them inform their exact feeling. If the customer selects no as the option, then the company does not get enough information to understand where their sales executive went wrong. Hence, in the reviewed questionnaire, the customer is asked to rate the qualities of their sales executive, which will provide better data to the company in order to improve the process. Next, we will discuss a technique named Voice of Customer. The voice of customer is a technique to organize, analyze, and profile the customer's requirements. Voice of the customer is an expression for listening to the external customer. The table shows the customer requirements while purchasing an air conditioner. In all cases, the customer is purchasing for his or her domestic usage. Each customer is further categorized according to his needs and requirements. When the customer says that he needs a silent air conditioner, he needs sound sleep at night in the bedroom. This is primarily to remain fresh the next morning and to get rid of the noisy ceiling fan being used currently. In case the customer says that he needs an efficient AC, he needs a machine which provides good cooling at night in the bedroom. This is mainly because it gets extremely hot in summer. Also, he currently uses a ceiling fan which is not so effective in summers. On the other hand, when the customer wants to buy an AC which is not too costly, he has limited cash for the purchase. He wants to purchase a low-cost AC. Let us discuss the importance of translating customer requirements in the next screen. Customer requirement is the data collected from customers that gives information about what they need or want from the process. Customer requirements are often high-level, vague, and non-specific. Some customers may give you a set of specific requirements to the business, but broadly, customers' requirements are a reflection of their experience. Customer requirements, when translated into critical process requirements that are specific and measurable, are called critical to quality (CTQ) factors. A fully developed CTQ has four major elements: output characteristic, Y metric, target, and specification or tolerance limits. We will discuss the meaning of CTQ in the next screen. Let us understand what quality function deployment is in this screen. QFD is a process to ensure that the customer's wants and needs are heard and translated into technical characteristics. It is also known as the voice of the customer or house of quality. QFD is a process to understand the customer's needs and translate them into a set of design and manufacturing requirements, while motivating businesses to focus on their customers. It also helps companies to design and build more competitive products in less time and lesser costs. QFD helps in prioritizing customer requirements, recognizing strengths and weaknesses of an organization, and recognizing areas that need to be worked on and areas that need immediate focus of efforts. QFD is carried out by asking relevant questions to the customers and tabulating them to bring out a set of parameters critical to the product design. Let us discuss phases of QFD in the next screen. Quality function deployment involves four phases. Phase 1, product planning. In this phase, the QFD team translates the customer requirements into product technical requirements. Phase 2, product design. In this phase, the QFD team translates the identified technical requirements into key part characteristics or systems. Phase 3, process planning. In this phase, the QFD team identifies the key process operations necessary to achieve the identified key part characteristics. Phase 4, production planning or process control. In this phase, the QFD team establishes process control plans, maintenance plans, and training plans to control operations. Next, we will understand the structure of QFD. Let us see what happens after completing the HOQ matrix. Completing one HOQ matrix is not the end of the QFD process.
The output of the first HOQ matrix can be the first stage of the second QFD phase. As shown in the image, the translation process is continued using linked HOQ type matrices until the production planning targets are developed. Let us proceed to the next topic of this lesson in the following screen. In this topic, we will discuss the basics of project management. Let us start with a discussion on problem statement. Every Six Sigma project targets a problem that needs to be resolved. The first step of project initiation is defining the problem statement. A problem statement needs to describe the problem in a clear and concise manner. A problem statement needs to identify and specify the observed gap in performance. It should indicate the current performance state of a process and the required performance state completely derived from customer requirements. A problem statement should be quantifiable. This means it should have specified metrics including the respective units. Please note that the problem statement cannot contain solutions or causes for the problem. In the next screen, we will discuss the is or is not template. The is or is not technique was first popularized by Kepner-Trigot Incorporated in the 1970s. It is a powerful tool that helps define the problem and gather required information. An example of a problem statement of paper cup leaks is given on the screen. The Six Sigma team has to answer what is the problem, what isn't the problem, where is it, where isn't it, when isn't it a problem, to what extent is it a problem, and to what extent isn't it a problem. The information is then used to fill the question areas in the is and is not issue template. In the analysis phase, if a cause cannot describe the is and the is not data, then it's not likely the main cause. In the next screen, we will list the criteria for the project objectives. The project objectives must meet the SMARTS criteria. SMARTS is an acronym of the characteristics desired in project objectives: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based, and stretch. The project deliverables should be specific. Example: hospitals maintain records of all patients. Often, a few forms are rejected or missed due to errors in recording the ID numbers. In this case, setting the objective as reduce form rejection is very vague. Instead, reduce patient ID errors in recording lab results is specific and effectively targets solving the problem. The project objectives should be quantifiable. Example: setting the objective as fewer form rejections is very vague. Instead, reduce patient ID errors by 30% sets a specific goal. The project objectives should be achievable and practical. The project objectives should be relevant to the problem. The project objectives must specify a time frame within which they should be delivered. The project objectives must not be easily achievable. Example: most problems and errors can be reduced by creating awareness. Hence, the objective must stretch beyond the easily attainable state. In the next screen, we will understand project documentation. Project documentation refers to creating documents to provide details about the project. Such documents are used to gain a better understanding of the project, prevent and resolve conflict among stakeholders, and share plans and status for the project. Documentation of a project is critical throughout the project. Some of the benefits achieved through project documentation are mentioned below. Documentation serves as written proof for execution of the project. It helps teams achieve a common understanding of the requirements and the status of the project. It removes personal bias, as there is a documented history of discussions and decisions made for the project. Depending on the nature of the project, each project produces a number of different documents. Some of these documents are the project charter, project plan, and its subsidiary plans. Other examples of project documentation include project status reports, including key milestones report, risk items, and pending action items. The frequency of these reports is determined by the need and complexity of the project. These reports are sent to all stakeholders to keep them abreast of the status of the project. Another example of project documentation is the final project report. This report is prepared at the end of the project and includes a summary of the complete project. Project storyboard, inputs generated from statistical tools, outputs from spreadsheets, checklists, and other miscellaneous documents are also classified as project documents. In the next screen, we will understand project charter. We will list the project charter sections in this screen. The major sections of a project charter are project name and description, business requirements, name of the project manager, project purpose or justification, including ROI, stakeholder and stakeholder requirements, broad timelines, major deliverables, constraints and assumptions, and the budget summary of the charter. In the next screen, we will understand the project plan. A project plan is the final approved document which is used to manage and control the various processes within the project and ensure its seamless execution. The project manager uses the project charter as an input to create a detailed project plan. A project plan comprises various sections, prominent among them being the project management approach, the scope statement, the work breakdown structure, the cost estimates, scheduling, defining performance baselines, marking major milestones to be achieved, and the key members and required staff personnel for the project. It also includes the various open and pending decisions related to the project and the key risks involved. Additionally, it also contains references to other subsidiary plans for managing risk, scope, schedule, etc. In the next screen, we will learn about project scope. We will look at different techniques used for interpreting the project scope in this screen. Project scope can be interpreted from the problem statement and project charter using various tools like the Pareto chart and the SIPOC map. The principle behind the Pareto chart, or the 80-20 principle as we know it, is a vital few, trivial many. The Pareto chart helps the teams to trim the scope of the project by identifying the causes which have a major impact on the outcome of the project. The SIPOC map is a high-level process map, which helps all team members in understanding the process functions in terms of addressing questions like who are the suppliers? What are the inputs they provide? What are the outputs that can be obtained? And who are the customers? As discussed earlier, SIPOC stands for Suppliers, Inputs, Process, Outputs, and Customers. In the subsequent screen, we will learn about process maps. SIPOC is a macro-level map that provides an overview of the business process, where a process map is a micro-level flowchart that provides an in-depth detail of a process. The process map covers details at all levels and provides a walk through the current process experience. The SIPOC map is used as a basis while drawing a process map. A Level 1 process map provides in-depth information, but the final process map drills further into detail. In the following screen, we will understand the project metrics. Let us discuss consequential metrics in this screen. Consequential metrics measure any negative consequences. These can be business metrics, process metrics, or both. They measure the negative effects of improving the primary or key metrics. They are used to measure the indemnity triggered by any damage in the project. The inconsistent use of consequential metrics can lead to loss of opportunity and rework after a project ends. Consequential metrics help to understand the cause and effect relationship between the primary and the secondary metrics and the impact it has on the organization. Let us take a look at an example for consequential metrics in the next screen.
we will discuss the best practices in this screen. The following are some of the best practices of consequential metrics. Setting consequential metrics during the measure phase and monitoring these metrics after finalizing the project will help to analyze whether the link between previous primary and secondary metrics has been established. Also, linking consequential metrics with primary metrics, and finally linking them with secondary metrics, provides clarity on the impact of these metrics. Assessing and evaluating the cause and effect relationship between these metrics is helpful to the organization as a whole. In the next screen, we will list some project planning tools. The project manager uses various tools to plan and control a project. One of the tools which he uses is the Pareto chart. Other prominent tools include the network diagram, the critical path method, also called CPM, the program evaluation and review technique, which is also known as PERT, Gantt charts, and the work breakdown structure, also known as WBS. In the next screen, we will discuss Pareto chart. Pareto chart is a histogram ordered by the frequency of occurrence of events. It is also known as the 80-20 rule, or vital few, trivial many. It helps project teams to focus on the issues which cause the highest number of defects or complaints. To explain further, the given chart plots all the causes for defects in a product or service. The values are represented in descending order by bars, and the cumulative total is represented by the line. Pareto chart emphasizes that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. Thus, a Pareto chart narrows the scope of the project or problem solving by identifying the major causes affecting quality. Pareto charts are useful only when required data is available. If data is not available, then other tools, such as brainstorming and multivoting, should be used to find the root cause of any problem. In the following screen, we will continue to discuss Pareto chart with an example. A hotel receives plenty of complaints from its customers, and the hotel manager wishes to identify the key areas of complaints. Complaints were received in the following areas: cleaning, check-in, pool timings, minibar, room service, and miscellaneous. Cleaning and check-in can be noted as areas of concern, with 35 and 19 complaints respectively. Percentage is calculated for each cause of complaint, and the cumulative is derived. Pareto chart is plotted using this data. In the next screen, we will discuss network diagrams. Network diagrams are one of the tools used by the project manager for project planning. They are also sometimes referred to as arrow diagrams because they use arrows to connect activities and represent precedents and interdependencies between activities of a project. There are some assumptions that need to be made while forming the network diagram. The first assumption is that before a new activity begins, all pending activities have been completed. The second assumption is that all arrows indicate logical precedence. This means that the direction of the arrow represents the sequence that activities need to follow. The last assumption is that a network diagram must start from a single event and end with a single event. There cannot be multiple start and end points to the network diagram. In the next screen, let us discuss some terms related to network diagram. For the network diagram to calculate the total duration of the project manager needs to define 4 dates for each task. The first 2 dates relate to the date by when the task can be started. The first date is early start. This is the earliest date by when the task can start. The second date is late start. This is the last date by when the task should start. The second 2 dates relate to the dates when the task should be complete. Early finish is the earliest date by when the task can be completed. Late finish is the last date by when the task should be completed. The duration of the task is calculated as the difference between the early start and early finish of the task. The difference between the early start and late start of the task is called the slack time available for the task. Slack can also be calculated as the difference between the early finish and late finish dates of the task. Slack time, or float time for a task, is the amount of time the task can be delayed before it causes a delay in the overall project timeline. In the next screen, we will discuss critical path method. Critical path method, also known as CPM, is an important tool used by project managers to monitor the progress of the project and to ensure that the project is on schedule. The critical path for a project is the longest sequence of tasks on the network diagram. The critical path in the given network diagram is highlighted in orange. Critical path is characterized by zero slack for all tasks on the sequence. This means that the smallest delay in any of the tasks on the critical path will cause a delay in the overall timeline of the project. This makes it very important for the project manager to closely monitor the tasks on the critical path and ensure that the tasks go smoothly. If needed, the project manager can divert resources from other tasks that are not on the critical path to tasks on the critical path to ensure that the project is not delayed. When a project manager removes resources from such tasks, he needs to ensure that the task does not become a critical path task because of the reduced number of resources. During the execution of the project, the critical path can easily shift because of multiple factors and hence needs to be constantly monitored by the project manager. A complex project can also have multiple critical paths. In the next screen, we will discuss project evaluation and review technique. We will understand the concept of risk in this screen. Risk is an uncertain event or consequence probable of occurring during a project. The main objectives of any project are time, cost, quality, and scope. Risk affects at least one of the four project objectives. It is important to understand that risk can be both positive as well as negative. A positive risk enhances the success of the project, whereas a negative risk is a threat to a project's success. Some of the terms used in risk analysis and management are risk probability, issue, and risk consequences. The likelihood that a risk will occur is called risk probability. To assess any risk is to assess the probability and impact of the risk. Issue is the occurrence of a risk. Risk consequences are the effects on project objectives if there is an occurrence of a risk or issue. In the subsequent screen, we will understand the process of risk analysis and management. We will list and understand some of the elements of risk analysis in this screen. Qualitative method. Qualitative methods like interview, checklists, and brainstorming are used to identify potential risks. Quantitative method. Quantitative methods are data-based, and a computer is required to calculate and analyze. These methods are used to evaluate the cost, time, and probabilistic combination of individual uncertainties. Feasibility. Feasibility is the study of the project risk. This is usually carried out in the beginning of the project when the project is most flexible and risks can be reduced at a relatively low cost. It helps in deciding different implementing options for the projects. Potential impact. Once the potential risks are identified, the impact of these on the project is determined. Using this data, possible solutions for the risks are identified. RPN. RPN of a failure is the product of its probability of occurrence, severity, and detectability. A failure is prioritized based on its RPN value. A high RPN indicates high risk. RPN assists to prioritize risks. Avoiding risk. When potential risks are identified, their impact in terms of cost, time, resources, and objective perspective is calculated. If the impact is huge, then avoiding the risk is the best option. Mitigating risk. Mitigating is the second option when dealing with risks. The loss that arises from mitigating a risk is much less than the loss that arises from the temporary avoiding of risk. Accepting the risk. If a risk cannot be avoided or mitigated, then it has to be accepted. The risk will be accepted if it doesn't greatly impact the cost, time, and product objective. In the following screen, we will discuss benefits of risk analysis. Benefits of risk analysis are as follows. Once the risk has been identified, it can be either mitigated, transferred, or accepted. When risk is identified in a task, slack time is provided as a buffer. Identifying risks also helps in setting up an actual timeline for a project. Slack time for an activity in a project could be the result of a risk identified proactively. Identifying risks helps in setting realistic expectations from the project by communicating the risk probability and consequence to stakeholders. Risk analysis also helps to identify and plan contingency activities if the risk becomes an issue. The project team is then well prepared to work on the issue, thereby reducing the impact of the risk. In the following screen, we will take a look at the risk assessment matrix. The potential risks of a project are assessed using the risk assessment matrix. It covers potential risk areas like project scope, team, personnel, material, facility and equipment, and communication. Each of these areas is assessed in terms of risk of loss of money, productivity, resources, and customer confidence. In the subsequent screen, we will discuss project closure. By definition, a project has a beginning and an end. But without a formal closure process, project teams can fail to recognize the end, and then the project can drag on, sometimes at great expense. Every project requires closure. For large or complex projects, it's a good idea to close each major project phase, for example, design, code, and test individually. Project closure ensures that outcomes match the stated goals of the project. Customers and stakeholders are happy with the results. Critical knowledge is captured. The team feels a sense of completion, and project resources are released for new projects. In the next screen, we will list the goals of a project closure report. The project closure report is created to accomplish the following goals. Review and validate the success of the project. Confirm outstanding issues, limitations, and recommendations. Outline tasks and activities accomplished to complete the activity. Highlight the best practices for future projects. Provide the project report or summary. Provide a project background overview. Summarize the planned activities of a project. Evaluate project performance. Provide a synopsis of the process. Generate discussions and recommendations. Generate project closure recommendations. In the following screen, we will list and understand project closure activities. During project closure, the project manager needs to take care of the following activities. Finalize the project documents. Much of a project's documentation is created during the life of the project. Document collection and update procedures are well established during the project lifeline. Capture the project knowledge. Project documents are helpful for future projects, in troubleshooting the product, or in a future audit. Set up a project library. Ideally, the project library is set up at the beginning of the project, and team members add documents as they produce them. Document the project learnings. Project learnings can be captured through team meetings, meetings with stakeholders and sponsor, and through feedbacks from consultants and vendors. Provide knowledge transfer. The project manager needs to provide a summary of the project results to team members, either as a presentation at a meeting or as a formal document. Consultants should not be relieved from their position until they have transferred all the important product maintenance knowledge to the team. Get a final sign-off. Schedule a meeting with the project sponsor and key stakeholders to get their final sign-off on the project. Close the project office. If the project team used a project management office or a dedicated work area, arrangements need to be made to return that space for general use. Recognize and reward. The project manager has the best understanding of which of the team members have worked the best, have transformed themselves with new skills, and who might be ready for a new level of responsibility. The project manager needs to report to the team's superiors what each team member has brought to the project. Celebrate. After completion of every project, the team needs and deserves a celebration. A team dinner, a team outing, gift certificates, or other rewards are minor costs that generate a large return in terms of morale and job satisfaction. Make a public announcement. An announcement to the organization is a good way to highlight the success of the project and its benefits to the company. Conclude. Formal project closure ensures that the team has met its objectives, satisfied the customer, captured important knowledge, and been rewarded for their efforts. Let us proceed to the next topic of this lesson in the following screen. In this topic, we will discuss management and planning tools. Let us start with a discussion on affinity diagram in the next screen. The affinity diagram method is employed by an individual or team to solve unfamiliar problems. It is an effective medium where the consensus of the group is necessary. The given affinity diagram is based on an organization where the employees are not satisfied. To begin with, each member writes down ideas and opinions on sticky notes. Each note can have a single idea. The points which have surfaced during the brainstorming session are that the workers are unkind, pay is low, and it is difficult to survive on the pay structure, working hours are too long, etc. In the next step, all the sticky notes are pasted on a table or wall. The sticky papers are arranged according to categories or thought patterns. Members happen to arrange their ideas based on affinity. In case a particular idea is good to go into more than one category, it is duplicated and added to several categories. After the arrangement is done, each category is named with a header card. The header card captures the central idea of all the cards in that category and draws a boundary around them. Poor compensation combines ideas like low pay, long working hours, and complaints about wages. Poor work environment encompasses issues like poor lighting, uncomfortable rooms, and stuffy air. Similarly, poor relationships prevail in the workspace as the workers are unkind and there is mutual dislike. Lack of motivation is due to repetitive work and no work-related challenges. You can see in the diagram on that slide that once all the ideas are grouped to the respective header cards, a diagram is drawn and borders are placed around the group of ideas. Thus, affinity diagram helps in grouping ideas with a common theme. In the next screen, we will discuss the interrelationship diagram. During problem solving, the interrelationship diagram technique helps in identifying the relationship between problems and ideas in complex situations. If the problem is really complex, it may not be easy to determine the exact relationship between ideas. The given interrelationship diagram is the result of a team brainstorming session, which identified 10 major issues involved in developing an organization's quality plan. Initially, the problem is defined, and all the members put down their ideas on sticky notes. Each note contains only one idea. All the sticky notes are put on a table for a random display. In the next step, the causes or areas of concern are identified, and a cause-effect arrangement of cards is constructed by drawing an arrow between the causes and effects of the cause. This is done until all the ideas on the sticky notes are accounted for and made a part of the interrelationship diagram. Take a large sheet of paper and replicate the cause-effect arrangement on it. As depicted in the image, a large number of outgoing arrows indicate the root cause, whereas a higher number of incoming arrows indicates an outcome. There are as many as 6 arrows originating from lack of quality strategy. This leads us to understand that it is a root cause. On the other hand, there are 3 arrows ending with the idea lack of TQM commitment by managers, making it an outcome. In the next screen, we will understand the tree diagram. The tree diagram is a systematic approach to outline all the details needed to complete a given objective. In other words, it is a method used to identify the tasks and methods needed to solve a problem and reach a predefined goal. It is mostly used while developing actions to execute a solution, while analyzing processes in detail during the evaluation of implementation issues for several potential solutions, and also as a communication tool to explain the details of a process to others. The given tree diagram shows the plan of a coffee shop trying to set standards for the coffee it delivers. First, the objective is noted on a note card and placed on the far left side of the board. The basic goal of the coffee shop is to provide a delightful cappuccino experience. In the next step, the coffee shop needs to determine the means required to achieve the goal and furnish 3 different solutions. In other words, the answers to the how or why questions of the objectives. In this case, the cappuccino needs to be at a comfortable temperature, and it should have strong and pleasing coffee aroma with the right amount of sweetness. In the next step, the 3 issues mentioned in the second stage are addressed at length. Each issue is answered. By maintaining the espresso and steamed milk temperature, the cappuccino can be served at a palatable temperature. Strong flavored cappuccino can be prepared using a good amount of finely ground coffee beans. And a good quality sweetener, used in the right amount, makes a great cappuccino. Thus, the tree diagram can be used to achieve a goal or define a process. In the following screen, we will discuss prioritization matrices. Let us learn about matrix diagram in this screen. Matrix diagrams show the relationship between objectives and methods, results and causes, tasks and people, etc. Their objective is to provide information about the relationship. They provide importance of task and method elements of the subject. They also help determine the strength of relationships between a grid of rows and columns. They help in organizing a large amount of inter-process related activities. Let us discuss various types of matrices in the next screen. Let us learn about a process decision program chart in this screen. Process decision program chart, or the PDPC method, is used to chart the course of events from the beginning of a process till the goal. While emphasizing the ability to identify the failure of important issues on activity plans, the PDPC helps create appropriate contingency plans to limit the number of risks involved. The PDPC is used before implementing a plan, especially when the plan is large and complex, if the plan must be completed on schedule, or if the price of failure is quite high. The given process decision program chart shows the process which can help in securing a contract. The process starts when the seller receives an order request from a potential buyer. This can lead to fixing an appointment with the buyer, confirming the appointment date, and meeting the buyer. If a date is not fixed, then buyer should be contacted till the meeting is confirmed. Without a meeting, there is a risk of losing the order. Considering an optimistic scenario, where a meeting is fixed with the buyer, the seller describes the price of the product or service. If the price is competitive, the order is secured. If the price is not competitive, the seller may have to repeat the bid until the buyer agrees and the order is secure. However, the buyer may not agree to a revised bid either, in which case the seller might lose the bid. In such a scenario, the seller can justify the pricing and pursue the buyer to agree to the bid. It might work, and the seller might secure the order. In the next screen, we will discuss the activity network diagram. An activity network diagram is used to show the time required for solving a problem and to identify items that can be done in parallel. It is used in scheduling and monitoring tasks within a complex project or process with interrelated tasks and resources. Moreover, it is also used when you know the steps of the project or process, their sequence, and the time taken by each of the steps involved. The original Japanese name for this tool is arrow diagram. The given activity network diagram shows a house construction plan and identifies the factors involved separately, like the amount of time for each operation in one situation, the relationship of work without time for each operation, and an operation by itself. The number of days is denoted by D. So the time taken for an activity like foundation to scaffolding takes around 5 days plus 4 days, which is 9 days in total. The line joining electrical work and interior walls is dotted. This shows relation between them, but without any timeline. Basically, it means that electrical work has to be done before interior walls, but the time is either not important or not available. Let us proceed to the next topic of this lesson in the following screen. In this topic, we will introduce business results for projects. Let us start with the discussion on defect per unit. We will learn about throughput yield in this screen. Throughput yield, or TPY, is the number of acceptable pieces at the end of a process divided by the number of starting pieces, excluding scrap and rework. Throughput yield is used to measure a single process only. If the DPU is known, TPY can be easily calculated as e to the power of the negative of DPU. Here, e is the mathematical constant and has a value of 2.7183. The expression can also be stated as DPU equals the negative of natural logarithm e of TPY. In the next screen, we will discuss rolled throughput yield. Rolled throughput yield, or RTY, is the probability of the entire process producing zero defects. RTY is the true measure of process efficiency and is considered across multiple processes. It is important as a metric when a process has excessive rework. TDPU is total defects per unit and is defined for a set of processes. When the total defects per unit is known, rolled throughput yield is calculated using the expression e to the power of negative of TDPU. The expression can also be written as TDPU is equal to negative of natural logarithm of RTY. When the defectives are known, rolled throughput yield can be calculated as the product of each process's first pass yield, or FPY. First pass yield is the number of products which pass without any rework over the total number of units. First pass yield is calculated as total number of quality products over total number of units. Total number of quality products is total number of units minus total number of defective units. In the following screen, we will understand FPY and RTY with an example. We will discuss process capability in this screen. Process capability, or CP, is defined as the inherent variability of a characteristic of a process or a product. In other words, it might also mean how well a process meets customer requirement. CP is an indicator of capability of a process and is expressed as difference of USL and LSL divided by product of 6 sigma. USL stands for upper specification limit. LSL is lower specification limit, and sigma is the standard deviation of a process. The difference between USL and LSL is also called the specification width or tolerance. In the following screen, we will discuss Process Capability Indices. Process Capability Indices, or CPK, was developed to objectively measure the degree to which a process meets or does not meet customer requirements. It was developed to account for the position of mean with respect to USL and LSL. To calculate CPK, the first step is to determine if the process mean is closer to the LSL or the USL. If the process mean is closer to LSL, CPKL is determined. CPKL is mean minus LSL divided by product of 3 and sigma. If the process mean is closer to USL, CPKU is calculated. CPKU is USL minus mean divided by product of 3 and sigma. Here, mean is the process average, and sigma represents the standard deviation. If the process mean is equidistant, either of the specification limit can be chosen. CPK takes up the value of CPKU and CPKL, depending on whichever is the lower value. In the next screen, we will understand process capability indices with an example. In this screen, we will discuss CPK and CP interpretations. A CP value of less than 1 indicates the process is not capable. Even if CP is greater than 1, to ascertain if the process really is not capable, check the CPK value. A CPK value of less than 1 indicates that the process is definitely not capable, but might be if CP is greater than 1 and the process mean is at or near the midpoint of the tolerance range. The CPK value will always be less than CP, especially as long as the process mean is not at the center of the process tolerance range. Non-centering can happen when the process has not understood the customer expectations clearly, or the process is complete as soon as the output reaches a specific limit. For example, a shirt size of 40 has a target chest diameter of 40 inches, but the process consistently delivers shirts with a mean of 41 inches as the chest diameter. A machine stops removing material as soon as the measured dimension is within specified limit. Let us proceed to the next topic of this lesson in the following screen. In this topic, we will discuss team dynamics and performance. Let us start with a discussion on team stages. There are 5 typical stages in the team building process. Each team passes through these stages as they start and proceed through the project. The 5 stages in the team building process are as follows: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. In the next screen, we will discuss the first stage, forming. The first stage in the team building process is called the forming stage. In this stage, the team comes together and begins to formulate roles and responsibilities. The team leader is identified, and he or she starts directing the team and assigning responsibilities to other team members. Most team members at this stage are generally enthusiastic and motivated by a desire to be accepted within the team. The leader employs a directive style of management, which includes delegating responsibility within the team, providing a structure to the team, and determining processes needed for the smooth functioning of the team. Toward the end of this phase, the team should achieve a commitment to the project and an acceptance of a common purpose. In the next screen, we will discuss the second stage, storming. The second phase in the team building process is called the storming stage. As suggested by the name itself, in this stage, conflicts start to arise within the team. Team members often struggle over responsibilities and control within the project. It is the responsibility of the team leader to coach and conciliate the team. The leader employs a coaching style of management which is reflected through facilitating change, managing conflict, and mediating understanding between different parties. Towards the end of this phase, team members need to learn to voice disagreement openly and constructively, while staying focused on common objectives and areas of agreement. In the next screen, we will discuss the third stage, norming. The third stage in the team building process is called the norming stage. In this stage, people get along, and the team develops a unified commitment toward the project goal. The team leader promotes the team and participates in the team activities. Team members look to the leader to clarify their understanding as some leadership roles begin to shift within the lower rungs of the group. The leader employs a participatory style of management through facilitating change, working to build consensus, and overseeing quality control. Toward the end of this phase, team members need to accept individual responsibilities and work out agreements about team procedures. In the next screen, we will discuss the fourth stage, performing. The next stage in the team building process is called the performing stage. This is the most productive stage for the project team. In this stage, team members manage complex tasks and work toward the common goals of the project. The leader employs a supervisory style of management by overseeing progress, rewarding achievement, and supervising process. The team leader leads the project on more or less an automated mode. When the project has completed successfully, or when the end is in sight, the team moves into the final stage. In the next screen, we will discuss the fifth stage, adjourning. The last stage of team building is called the adjourning stage. In this stage, the project is winding down, and the goals are within reach. The team members are dealing with their impending separation from the team. The team leader provides feedback to the team. The leader employs a supportive style of management by giving feedback, celebrating accomplishments, and providing closure. The team leader needs to adopt a different style of leadership at every stage. It is therefore important for a leader to understand these stages and identify the current stage that a team is in. The success of the team depends on how well the leader can guide them through these phases. In the next screen, we will learn about negative dynamics. Team members can exhibit negative behavior in more than one way during the project life cycle. This behavior has a negative effect on the dynamics of the team. The first kind of negative participants fall in the category of overbearing participants. These participants use their influence or expertise to take on a position of authority, discounting contributions from other team members. To cope with such participants, team leaders must establish ground rules for participation and reinforce that the group has the right to explore any area pertinent to team goals and objectives. Another kind of negative participant is often referred to as the dominant participant. These participants take up an excessive amount of group time by talking too much, focusing on trivial concerns, and otherwise preventing participation by others. Team leaders need to be able to control dominant participants without inhibiting their energy or enthusiasm. Some other participants are reluctant participants, who feel intimidated and are not happy with the team process. Owing to their reluctance, they miss opportunities to bring up data that is valuable to the project. This can often lead to hostility within the team. One way to deal with reluctant participants is to respond positively and with encouragement to any contribution from the team member. Teamwork is more than a natural consequence of working together. Team management is more than building a relationship with individual team members. All teams face group challenges that need group-based diagnosis and problem solving to ensure that negative participants are able to contribute and perform as part of the team. In the next screen, we will learn about group challenges. Six Sigma team and their responsibilities are described here. Various roles assist the smooth execution of a Six Sigma project. These roles are required to support the project by providing the information and resources that are needed to execute the project. The first important member of the Six Sigma team is the executive sponsor. Sponsors are the source or conduit for project resources, and they are usually the recipients of the benefits the project will produce. The sponsor is responsible for setting the direction and priorities for the organization. The sponsor may be a functional manager or an external customer. The next important role is that of the process owners. They work with the black belts to improve their respective processes. They provide functional expertise about the process to the project. Usually, this role is played by the functional managers in charge of specific processes. The next role in the project is that of the champions. They are typically upper-level managers who control and allocate resources to promote process improvements. They ensure the organization is providing necessary resources to the project, and the project is fitting into the strategic plans of the organization. The first role related to the execution of the project is the role of the Master Black Belt. This role acts as a consultant to team leaders and offers expertise in the use of Six Sigma tools and methodologies. Master Black Belts are experts in Six Sigma statistical tools and are qualified to teach high-level Six Sigma methodologies and applications. Each Master Black Belt will have multiple Black Belts under him. Black Belts are the leaders of individual Six Sigma projects. They lead project teams and conduct the detailed analysis required in Six Sigma methodologies. Black Belts act as instructors and mentors for Green Belts and educate them in Six Sigma tools and methods. They also protect the interests of the project by coordinating with functional managers. Green Belts are trained in Six Sigma, but typically lead project teams working in their own areas of expertise. They are focused on the basic Six Sigma tools for acceleration of projects. Green Belts work on projects on a part-time basis, dividing time between project and functional responsibilities. An executive is the person who manages and leads the team to ensure smooth working of tasks and has the power to execute decisions. A coach takes on a number of roles. He or she is the person who trains, mentors, teaches, and guides the team when required. Coach also motivates and builds confidence of the members. A facilitator is a guide for the team or group, also known as a discussion leader. Facilitators help the group or team to understand their common objective and plan their activities. A sponsor is a person who supports the event or the project by providing all the required resources. A team member is an individual who belongs to a particular project team. A team member contributes to the performance of the team and actively participates for fulfillment of the project objectives. The progress, achievements, and the details of the project have to be effectively communicated to the team, management, customers, and stakeholders. We will learn about modes of communication in the next screen. Let us understand communication within the team in this screen. The purpose of communication within the team and the modes of communication used are as follows. Meetings and emails are suitable to communicate the roles and responsibilities of the team members. Meetings, memos, and emails are used by the team to understand the project status. Workshops and meetings are conducted to identify the outstanding tasks, risks, and their corrective actions. Team meetings assist decision-making. Meetings and emails ensure coordination and efficient work. The next screen will focus on communication with stakeholders. The purpose of communication with stakeholders and the modes of communication used are as follows. Meeting, emails, and events are suitable to convey project objectives and goals to stakeholders. Meetings, emails, and newsletters assist stakeholders in understanding project status. Workshops, meetings, and events help stakeholders to identify the adverse effects of a situation. Meetings with stakeholders assist decision-making process. In the next screen, we will discuss the communication technique. Communication techniques can be grouped in various ways. The first grouping of communication techniques is based on the direction in which communication flows. Vertical communication consists of two subtypes, namely downward flow of communication and upward flow of communication. In the downward flow of communication, the managers must pass information and give orders and directives to the lower levels in the organization. On the contrary, upward communication consists of information relayed from the bottom or grassroots levels to the higher levels of the company. Horizontal communication refers to the sharing of information across the same levels of the organization. This can be in the form of formal and informal communication. Formal communications are official company-sanctioned methods of communicating to the employees. The grapevine, rumor mill, etc. are some of the means of informal communication in the organization. The second grouping of communication techniques is based on the usage of words. Verbal communication includes use of words for communication, via telephone, face-to-face, etc. Nonverbal communication conveys messages without the use of words through body language, facial expressions, etc. The last grouping of communication techniques is based on participation of the people involved in communication. One-way communication happens when information is relayed from the sender to the receiver without the expectation of a response, like memos and announcements. Two-way communication is a method in which both parties are involved in the exchange of information. Team tools are a part of the team dynamics and performance. The various team tools that are used are brainstorming, nominal group technique, and multivoting. We will learn about each of these in the forthcoming screens. Let us summarize what we have learned in this lesson. Project selection includes identifying organizational need, identifying the projects, and evaluating them. SIPOC is a macro-level map drawn in the define phase. Quality function deployment, QFD, is a process to ensure that the customer's wants and needs are heard and translated into technical characteristics. Project documentation refers to creating documents to provide details about the project. Project charter, project plan, key milestone report, and risk items list are some examples of project documentation. Risk analysis and management is crucial to the success of a project. Risk analysis includes identification, evaluation, prioritization, and prevention of risk, implementation, and monitoring and controlling of risk. Affinity diagram, interrelationship diagram, tree diagram, prioritization matrices, matrix diagram, process decision program chart, and activity network diagram are examples for management and project planning tools. Rolled throughput yield, RTY, is the probability of the entire process producing zero defects. Defect per million opportunities, DPMO, or nonconformities per million opportunities, NPMO, is a measure of process performance. The team building process includes forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. The next lesson will focus on the measure phase.